Hi, today we are going to go over Unit 3 in the Math plus Purple unit. This unit focuses on whole number multiplication sense, and this is one of the most important units in all of third grade. Multiplication is one of the key focus areas of the third grade standards. So this unit will take about 3.5 weeks, and there's also 3 optional choice days built into this unit. That gives you extra time to really practice the skills that are being taught. Fact fluency, or learning your multiplication facts, is not just about speed and using flashcards. Fluency means that you understand the math, you're able to model the math. You do want to be accurate, you do want to develop speed, but as a beginning third grade student who's working on multiplication facts, speed is not our goal. Speed comes later after you've had lots of practice with the facts. What we want students to be able to do is to think about the facts. We want students to be able to decompose numbers into facts that they may know to solve problems that they don't know. So definitely spend lots of time on this unit and continue to work on multiplication facts even after this unit is over. Now let's head over to the lesson guide for the learning coaches. Remember, if you're looking for materials, you'll often need to open that left-hand side. You can go right to the unit right here. I'm on whole number multiplication sense. And when you open up that tab, you can scroll through the lesson guide. And one thing that I do want to point out that's really important in this unit is that some lessons are offline, and they do recommend that you, as a learning coach, model the math with your students. So definitely follow these guidelines. Again, it doesn't do any good for a student to memorize the facts if they don't know what is happening with those numbers. So we definitely want to model the math. So look at this guide carefully. I also want to point out this resource section, so you can go to the whole number multiplication sense, the centimeter grid paper, base 10 grid printouts, 100 charts, multiplication charts are all great resources that they will refer to throughout these units. I also want to point out that Unit 3 is a little bit different. When we go back and we see this extended problems real world application, you'll notice that this lesson has been skipped by your homeroom teacher for you. And the reason that it is skipped is because this lesson is one that will be a portfolio grade, a math portfolio grade. So you will be submitting your results or answers to your teacher. And as you scroll through this lesson, you will see that the directions are a little bit different, and it says your teacher will grade this assignment. Save the graded assignment to your computer. We also skipped it because there are different options, A, B, and C, and we are going to be doing the A option, but your teacher will send that to you when it's time for the portfolio to come, and having that extra practice before you actually complete that assignment may be a great thing. We definitely are wanting students just to think about math and explain the math and not just focus on answer getting. There's lots of kids that may know that 4 times 7 is 28, but when you ask them what 4 times 7 means, they're not able to model that or draw a picture to show 4 groups of 7. So now let's head over to the student activity book, and remember, again, you can simply go straight to that unit. The thing that is so important is the model and explain. Time test is not the focus of third grade. Time test is not the focus of any grade necessarily. Flashcards are not necessarily the focus of any grade. We want students to model and explain the math. You'll also see that it goes down and it kind of focuses on how addition is related to multiplication, that when there's 4 times 12, we have 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12, or we have 12 4 times. So they can break this into tens and ones and begin to see that we have 40, and then 42, 44, 46, 48. So if they're able to model the math and decompose numbers, they're going to be able to answer complicated questions like this that they may not have known before. So as you continue to go through the lessons, you're going to continue to see models. You're also, sometimes it says to show 2 ways. This one particularly does not say that, but they want you to show what 8 times 2 would be as if you used repeated addition to show that answer. It also gets into area models, which are really important because area and perimeter are also big skills for third grade. And we'll talk about that more when we get to those units in the measurement section. But when students understand the area model and that we have 2 rows of 9, they begin to understand square units and how to calculate square units. They also begin to understand how square units can be decomposed. And we'll talk about that in a minute. For instance, when we're dealing with bigger numbers, how they can take part of it and then add it to the other part. So again, this is like the arrays that you can use any materials around your house. Use blocks, use pieces of cereal. I think using Cheez-It crackers are kind of fun to model the area model. And as you continue to go through the unit, though, the numbers are going to start getting bigger. So even though students shouldn't have this fact memorized, they should be able to learn how to decompose 17. And so even though this top question wants them to show the model of 17 4 times, it does ask for the product or the final answer of what you would get when you multiply 17 4 times. So instead of just counting every single block one by one by one, you could have your student think about, how is 17 broken up? We know it's 10, one group of 10 and 7 ones, so we could multiply 10 times 4 and 7 times 4, or you could even have them break it up into even smaller chunks and just draw lines across and do 2 times 4 and then 2 times 4 and continue to break it up and then add those together. Your child will not likely see many problems this large on the end of your assessment, especially when it just says find the product, but they may see a model that represents numbers that large. Now, as you continue to go through the unit, you're going to have lots of different types of modeling. And again, that's what the most important thing is, talking about the math. And if your child picks the model, say, how do you know? Explain how you got that answer. Now, students will begin to move away from the models and more to the understanding the multiplication. Students in 4th grade really focus on multiples and continue to multiply bigger numbers. So multiples for 2nd or for 3rd grade is more about skip counting. And so there's lots of YouTube videos on skip counting, but it's a great way for students really to begin thinking about those multiplication patterns. So multiples would be 2, 4, 6, 8, or 5, 10, 15, 20. And so they're able to really think about those that terminology. We also want them to understand that a factor are the multiplication facts, the two numbers that are multiplied together to make that final product. So this is a great thing to discuss because factors and multiples are going to be coming with bigger numbers in 4th grade. Now, as they continue to go through, you will also see things that deal with number lines. This is another great way to move away from maybe those hands-on manipulatives to something a little more abstract, and so they can skip count on a number line to get the answers. I would draw out number lines in your math journal as well as using models to answer these questions. Again, besides just learning the facts, we want students to understand the properties of multiplication. They do not need to know the words such as commutative or associative as we're coming up later. They'll also learn the distributive property. Those words aren't what's important. It's understanding that when you multiply, you can change the order of the factors and you're still going to get the same sum or product. The other great thing about this is when you print out a multiplication chart, and you maybe draw a line horizontally all the way down, so from corner to corner, students will see that they really only have to learn half of the multiplication chart, because if they know what 9 times 5 is, then they automatically know 5 times 9. So it's a great tool to show them that if you know half, you already know the other half. So as they learn the properties, they'll start applying those properties and really thinking about the multiplication facts. So again, I'm going to show you some sites where it will help you help your child if there's something that they don't know, that they could maybe break things apart into things that they do know. And I'll show you that with my webcam in just a minute. So as you practice facts, you'll get to the associative property. And the associative property basically means that you can group things and make it a little bit easier. So it doesn't matter where the parentheses are. You're still going to get the same answer. And when you have parentheses, that means you're going to work out those two numbers first. So right here it says use parentheses to show which factors you will multiply first. And so if I think about these numbers, it would be easier, I think, for me to put the parentheses right here by the 5 and 2, because I know 5 times 2 is 10, and I know 10 times 4 is 40. It's easier to do that than say 4 times 5 is 20 and 22 times. Even though either way works, you still get 40 either way. They're wanting to think like which way would work better for you. I think it would be easier to multiply 2 times 3 to get 6 instead of multiplying 3 times 8 and then multiplying that by 2. So it's just great to have these conversations with your student, and you can show again that you're still going to get the same answer regardless of how you group the numbers. Next you get into the applying these properties. So it's going to show some bigger numbers, but again I'm going to get out my webcam just to show you what I'm talking about. When you have larger numbers like I have here, and let me make this a little bit bigger, I have 4 rows with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in each row. So I have 4 times 7. A lot of students have difficulty with their sevens and some of the larger numbers, but they might know 4 times 5, or they might know 4 times 2. So it's important for students to think about what makes a 7. You can decompose and break apart 7 into its add-ins. And so I'm going to do that right here with my pen, and I'm going to break this apart. I'm going to take 5 this way and 2 rows this way. So now I have 4 times 5 and 4 times 2. I didn't get rid of any blocks. I still have the same amount. So it's important. That's why the models are so important, so you can show students how you can decompose and put things together. So I know that 4 times 5 is 20, and it could be because I know how to skip count. 5, 10, 15, 20. And I know that 4 times 2 is 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. This and this they are my partial products. They are part of the answer. So I need to add 20 plus 8 together to get my final product. So I know that 4 times 8 is 28. This works with all numbers regardless of their size. If I had had 17, I could have broken that number down into a different way. And I could have said 4 times 17, well, I know that that's a 10 plus a 7, and I can break numbers apart and say 40 plus 28, because 4 times 10 is 40, and 4 times 7 is 28. And I could easily add those together to get my final product. We want students to be flexible thinkers, and this is how they become fluent with their facts. Not with flashcards, but actually with applying their math and using these strategies. So as we finish that lesson, the core lesson, you will be finishing up most of the lessons in that unit. Again, there's lots of practice with the facts, and then this will be the portfolio assignment. Now I'm going to head on over to Learn Zillion to show you a few things with this site, because if you create a free account, definitely as a parent it says create a free account, definitely create a free account, then go to this Common Core Navigator tab, and when you go to the Common Core Navigator tab, you will see all of the 3rd grade standards. Okay, so let's go to this Common Core Navigator tab, and then we'll go to 3rd grade. And once we click on 3rd grade, you will see this operations and algebraic thinking, and this entire column mostly deals with multiplication and division, and there are going to be some things with patterns. You will also find a multiplication standard hidden right here in this 3 NBT A3, and this is when you multiply by tens and maybe multiply by larger numbers. Now, what you will notice when you're here is every single folder contains lessons. And I'm going to go right down here where it says multiply and divide within 100. I definitely recommend that you check out all of these different standards because they deal with word problems and how multiplication and division are related. But I'm going to go here because this particular set of lessons talks about strategies to really help your student be a fluent mathematician. This talks about how you can use double patterns. So you can, if you don't know your fours and you know your twos, you can double the answer. This talks about using half a 10 strategy, multiplying by subtracting from groups of 10, multiply by combining known facts. This is one of my favorites because I like decomposing numbers into facts that I know so that I can come up with the answer. So definitely, like I said, create a free account, go to the Common Core Navigator tab, and explore all of the different video lessons for multiplication. All of these and all of these will help immensely with multiplication standards. Another thing I want to point out to you is that we do on the elementary math webpage have a fact fluency page. And if you scroll down, there's going to be some information for parents. And if you continue to scroll down, there are some videos, and some of these are for lower grades. That's why the 1 and the 2, those are first and second grade. This one does get into third grade a little bit. But again, here are some of those multiplication strategies we just talked about. And as you continue to scroll down, you're going to come across lots of links to activities to help your child practice their facts. Here are a few quizzes if you want to focus on one fact at a time. As we go into this fact fluency and multiplication set, one of my favorites is this fact navigator. And it says choose a fact that you'd like to learn, a cool picture and a lesson will appear, and a story will be read about that fact. So sometimes students need to think and relate their facts to a fun story. This is a great site if your child learns best that way. This is another great one, the known facts test, but there's all of these help model the math with arrays and skip counting. There's also some games that you can play at home. We want students to think of math as fun and not just as a chore that you have to practice and get an answer. The other site that I want to point out, and there's a link right here, is this Greg Tang Math. I love this site because it has stories and games that students can play as they practice their facts. When you get to this site, one of the fun stories is Best of Times. So you can actually click on the books and go to Best of Times and open up that book, and it will have little rhymes and riddles to help your student master their facts. So once you open up the book, there are different pages that you can go to practice your zeros and ones and twos and threes with a fun story, and the kids can enter the answer. You can also go to the games, and one of the games that I like the most is the break apart game, where they can really break apart numbers into facts that they know. So just simply go to break apart and then choose multiplication, and then again you can practice a certain fact at a time, or you can click multiple ones. And so here you can see that they've decomposed. It says a group of 4 is fast to do if you think in groups of 2. So 2 times 8 is 16, 2 times 8 is 16. So our answer, we can add those together. I know that 6 plus 6 is 12, so I know my answer is going to end with a 2. And when I regroup, I get 32. So it's a great way to practice our facts and decompose, and students can try to beat the clock. And there's lots of games for all ability levels, and it gets into more complicated numbers. And you can also practice addition and subtraction with this site as well. And definitely check out the third grade math web page as well, because there are additional videos and lots of games that may not even be on the fact fluency page. It breaks it down by the standards. There's lots of things that use the properties. Here's the distributive property that probably is one of the trickiest ones of all. And there's also some songs and different things that you can click on and play. There's the link to the Best of Times or the Greg Tang website and some of the games that he has. There's also printable resources on the Greg Tang site. And if you're still wanting to practice, this is a link directly to the fact fluency page. And here it says I can learn my times tables, and it gives a lot of different strategies. And here are games to print at home. So there's definitely tons and tons of resources to help you be successful with multiplication. And the most important thing to remember is that multiplication isn't something that we learn in 18 days. It's something that we learn over an extended period of time with lots and lots of practice. We do want students to become fluent with their multiplication facts, and the third grade standards do say that students in third grade will become fluent with their facts within 100, so that would be up to 10 times 10. And again, it's not about how fast you are, it's about how you think about the numbers. Speed will come. We want students to be accurate, and we want them to be critical thinkers. And as they continue to move through elementary school, it's going to become just second nature to be able to spit out those facts. We don't want students to get to fifth grade that don't know their facts, because that's really going to make it difficult to multiply larger numbers, and then it will really make it difficult as they begin to transition into algebraic skills. Thank you for listening, and good luck with learning your facts.